Good afternoon. Welcome back to Near Post Flick On. Right, we're just going to jump straight into it. So we've just finished watching the game, Wolves versus Spurs, and let's face it, we're not surprised. We are not surprised. We knew Wolves would batter Tottenham, but I just didn't. I didn't believe it was going to be a 4-2 result, to be honest. But I did know, and I did feel that Tottenham were going to lose, but I just didn't think they would lose in that fashion. I actually predicted 2-1, but the game ended 4-2. So credit to Wolves. They were the home team. They had the home support, and they've walked away with a 4-2 victory. But the big question is, what is going on with Spurs? I mean, that's what the 17th defeat this season. 17th, and you have to cast your mind back. Remember, Tottenham were fighting for once upon a time, you could say the Premier League. Tottenham were a top four, established top four side. So it wasn't. It's not like, oh yeah, Tottenham have always been a mid-table team or anything like that. In recent times, I'm talking about. I'm not talking about back in the '90s or anything like that or noughties. I'm saying in recent times, Tottenham are regarded as an established top four side, arguably top six, but for me, top four. Now, to go from that to losing 17 games in a season, I've said they could potentially lose 20 games this season. But yeah, going back to that game, I think if you look at the statistics, I think Spurs did dominate possession. Yes, they did. You have to give them credit for that. But what is the point in dominating possession if you're not going to do anything with it? I mean, I could play in a park and say, okay, yeah, let's just keep holding the ball. But what good did that do if you're not getting results? Now, looking at the statistics, I think they had 62% of the possession, whereas Wolves had 38%. Wolves had 13 shots on goal, Spurs had 11 shots on goal. And of that, Wolves had 5 shots on target, Spurs had 4. Spurs completed 487 passes. That's high numbers. That's a high completion rate. 487 passes. Wolves had 275. But all that doesn't mean anything if there is no end result. I mean, it's another battering. I'm sorry to say, but it is another battering for Ange. This has been the worst I've seen. I mean, how do you go from, if we go back to last season or the first season, Tottenham won the first 10 games, not a problem. And they look good. How do you go from that to what we're seeing now? It's shocking. I mean, you can argue and say, well, they've had injuries, etc., which Tottenham have. They have had injuries, but the players are coming back, and it looks like the squad is what it is. But at the end of the day, you don't lose 17 games. You don't lose 17 games in a season, and you're an established top four or supposed top four side. 17 games is crazy, absolutely crazy. But of course, I know. Yes, there is a quarter-final match against Frankfurt that they're very much involved in this Thursday, and I'm sure that will be in the back of the mind of the manager, and that will be in the back of the mind of the players as well. But as I say, nobody really expected Tottenham to win today. No one expected Tottenham to win today. But there's I don't know. There's pride in losing. I'd be happy if Tottenham played well and lost maybe 2-1. But yeah, they didn't really offer much to be fair, and you have to give Wolves their credit. So I think Wolves played well. 4-2 win. Yes, there was an own goal there, but yeah, Wolves overall definitely played well and deserved their victory. But I think not to take anything away from Wolves, I think a lot of the attention will be on Tottenham and how they've performed and how they've prepared for the game. To be honest, but going back to the match itself, yeah. So it's 4-2. Um, I think in the first 2 minutes there was a goal from Nouri, and then the own goal from Jed Spence, who was rather unfortunate because there was really nothing he could do about that. So he scored an own goal in the 38th minute, and in the second half, uh, Tell scored in the 59th minute. Again, he didn't even know anything about that because it was a lovely cross from Johnson, and it kind of just I felt was a ricochet, just ricocheted off Tell's foot, and then And at that point, you probably felt Tottenham were going to come back, but Wolves attacked again, and then they scored through Larson, Strand Larson, on the 64th minute. And again, Tottenham pulled one back again through Richarlison, and you say, okay, look, last 5 minutes, 6, 7 minutes, including extra time, maybe we could see a draw here from Tottenham, but no. Cunha scores in the 86th minute to make the game 4-2. So it's something that we've been getting used to from Spurs this season. They just haven't had the minerals to sustain anything this year. They've been awful. They've been awful, and I think all the good work that Tottenham have done in recent times is literally just down the window in one season. I mean, down the toilet in one season. It's all gone down the drain in one season. It's just crazy. Now, Ange will have to do something extraordinary. Now, the if they win the Europa, if they win the Europa, then you could make a case for him to keep his job, and then Tottenham would have to be absolutely amazing next season. But I don't know. I don't know whether that's sufficient enough for him to save his job. I just don't know. Remember, Mourinho was sacked in the same week as a cup final by Spurs by Daniel Levy. So who knows? Who knows? But yeah, reviewing today's game, it was awful from Spurs. Yes, they've got a game on Thursday, and you could argue that, yeah, players have got that in the back of their minds and they're more focused on that. But at the end of the day, as I've said before, you've got to have some pride in losing. You don't get battered by Wolves 4-2. 2-1 you can live with. A draw you can live with, but to get battered 4-2, no, that's not good enough from Spurs, and I think they need to do a lot better. And I tell you what, the Tottenham fans will be absolutely going crazy on Thursday should they get knocked out. They're going to be calling for Ange's sacking. Postecoglou. They're going to be calling for his sacking come Thursday. So mighty Spurs. You've got to change your approach. You've got to do something better, to be honest. But yeah, we'll see how that goes.